Horror films want to shock audiences, and shock you they will, sometimes hitting you with a scene or sequence that sticks with you forever, even if you'd probably prefer it didn't. With that in mind then, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are intense horror movie moments you can never unsee. Number 7. The Ruins. The amputation scene. Based on the novel of the same name by Scott Smith, who also penned the screenplay, The Ruins is a wicked horror movie that sees a group of tourists' vacation go horribly wrong after they're convinced to embark on a trip deep within the jungle to see some Maine ruins. After being held at gunpoint by murderous locals who appear to be protecting the monument, the gang seek refuge at the top of the ruins, which is covered in vines. Now trapped with scarce food and water, the sound of a ringing phone emanating from a nearby shaft signals their possible salvation. But when one sorry sod attempts to descend into the darkness, the makeshift harness snaps and the fall breaks their back, paralyzing them in the process. Things only get worse for the injured man the next morning though, when the group realize the true terror of their situation. See, the vines are actually a supernatural force enveloping the whole ruins and have wrapped themselves around the legs of this man while he slept, eating his flesh down to the bone. To keep the unfortunate traveler alive, an amputation is required. What follows then is a harrowing sequence in which their legs are broken with a large stone and then sawed off with a knife before the wound is cauterized. Now, I'm no doctor, you know this, I'm just a fool on the internet, but even I know that that's not the way this operation is supposed to be carried out. That doesn't look very sanitary to me. As a result, watching this scene, viewers feel every bone-breaking crunch as it happens. Number 6. Zombie flesh eaters, the eye gouge. When it comes to unadulterated gore fests, you don't get much worse than Italian exploitation cinema, with one of the bloodiest, of course, being Lucio Fulci's iconic zombie flesh eaters. Intended to capitalize on the success of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, this flick, also known as Zombie and Zombie 2, follows Anne as she travels to the Caribbean island her father was working at when his boat mysteriously appeared in New York with nobody on board. At least, nobody who was alive. What she doesn't know, however, is that the island has been overrun by the dead, reanimated by voodoo. One of the first to fall prey to the horde is researcher Paula, when she's attacked by one in her home. Though she's initially able to fend it off, the creature then breaks through the door and grabs hold of her, gradually pulling her towards a large wooden splinter. Cutting from shots of the sharp point to her widening eye as her face draws closer, viewers know exactly what's about to happen to her. The gory moment itself is as unpleasantly squelchy as you'd imagine, but it's the carefully drawn out anticipation which makes this scene particularly unbearable to watch. But to be fair, it's kind of a cheat code anyway. I mean, anything involving eyeballs in horror is just an instant 10 out of 10 on the cringe scale. Number 5. Dagon Face Off. Dagon, a turn-of-the-century horror movie based on the works of H.P. Lovecraft, is absolutely in the realm of the campy B-movie. Its acting verges on the quality that you'd see in a softcore porn movie, not that I've watched any of those. The CGI effects are abysmal, and it looks like it was made for the price of a chip. But that's all part of the charm, of course, and with this being from the director who brought us Reanimator, there are moments where the film sets out to genuinely shock you as well. The absolute centerpiece of those attempts comes in one harrowing scene towards the movie's end, when our hero is tied up with another victim and at the mercy of a group of fishy cultists. The pair are then given a choice: either join the ranks and vow their existence to the god Dagon, or refuse and suffer a fate worse than death. After refusing, our hero can only watch as the guy next to him begins to be skinned alive, starting incredibly traumatically with the face. The film pulls out all the stops at showing every step of this process, birthing one of the bloodiest scenes of the 2000s in the process. Seriously, there's no chance that we're going to be able to show you much of this in the actual video without being struck down, but just trust me that I'm not over-egging just how gross this thing is, and how much it'll linger with you, even if you remember nothing else from the movie. Number 4. Lords of Chaos, The Murder. Lords of Chaos rightly took a lot of criticism when it first released, based on the real story of black metal band Mayhem and the murder of band member Euronymous by another band member named Varg. On the one hand, people took issue with it exploiting a real tragic story for shock value, while others criticized it for completely misrepresenting its subject matter and culture. All of that aside for a second though, it does feature one undeniably tense sequence, which is, of course, the killing that the entire story leads up to. For 90 minutes, we'd watch these two characters characters struggle with being in a black metal band, with one fully buying into its ideology, falling into a life of hate and crime, while the other reveals that the aesthetic and content of the music is just that, music and not his way of life. With Euronymous leaving the band to pursue other ventures, the militant Varge tracks him down and, after arguing, stabs his former band member to death. The scene itself is difficult to watch, not because it's particularly gory, though there is a lot of blood, but because of just how pointless the murder seems. The inevitability of events makes it tough to sit through, knowing there's only one possible outcome, while the scene is shot so matter-of-factly that it appears far too believable. Number 3, Suspiria 2018, The Breakdancing. While Luca Guadagnino's take on a dance academy overrun with witches received a mixed reception from audiences, his reimagining of Dario Argento's iconic Suspiria nevertheless proved to be as brutal and mesmerizing as its predecessor. While there's plenty of disturbing imagery to be found here, especially towards the end, nothing can compare with Olga's death. This occurs when Olga, the company's lead dancer, grows suspicious that the teachers are up to something nefarious, and she accuses them of being involved with another dancer's disappearance before quitting the production. The women in charge are naturally unimpressed with the outburst and decide to punish her in a unique and violent fashion. Consequently, she's sent to a room with mirrored walls and is put under a spell, which means she's forced to mirror the movements of her replacement's dance. As the dancer then contorts and moves her body, Olga is thrown across the room, her body itself bending and breaking in numerous positions, with bones visibly protruding from her mangled body. As the accompanying music and dance intensifies, so too does the violence, until Olga is finally left as a contorted heap on the floor. Number 2, Audition, The Acupuncture Torture. When it comes to cult cinema, you don't get any bigger than the fever dream nightmare that is Audition, one of the films responsible for sparking the rise of J-horror in the West. Adapted from Ryu Murakami's novel of the same name, which is also great by the way, the film centers around mild-mannered widower Aoyama as he holds fake auditions to find a new potential partner. His search leads him to meet the quiet-spoken and mysterious Asami. The pair immediately strike up a romance, but when Asami suddenly disappears, Aoyama's ensuing investigation into her whereabouts leads him to uncovering frightening secrets about who this woman really is. It's during the film's climax when Asami's true nature is revealed though, in a scene that has since gone down in horror history infamy. After drugging the unsuspecting Aoyama's drink, Asami emerges to torture the now paralyzed man with acupuncture needles by carefully placing them in precise locations to induce the most pain, including under his eyeballs, before then amputating his foot with piano wire. With expert sound design accentuating the sounds of metal piercing flesh, the scene plays out at an uncomfortably slow pace, ensuring that viewers soak in every ounce of this character's terror and pain. Number 1, Titane, Body Horror Birth. From acclaimed French filmmaker Julia Ducournau, the same visionary auteur behind the vomit-inducing finger sequence from coming-of-age cannibal flick Raw, Titane revolves around Alexia, a young dancer with a murderous streak and a passionate lust for cars. However, things take a very strange turn towards the start of the film when Alexia discovers that she's actually become pregnant with a car's offspring. Moreover, her situation only becomes more precarious when she poses as a fire captain's missing son when she's suspected of the killings, masking her pregnancy by binding her chest and stomach. What follows is a thoughtful and brutal tale, however, Alexia's pregnancy does continue to progress. Motor oil leaking from her increasingly mutilated body introduces an element of body horror to this already insane film, with viewers wondering what sort of being is growing inside her. When Alexia eventually enters labor then, the ordeal is nothing short of harrowing. Her stomach rips in several places, revealing metal under her skin. She screams in abject agony and terror, with a mixture of motor oil and blood spilling from her and soaking the bed sheets. So yeah, it's no surprise then that there were reports of people fainting while watching this Palme d'Or winner in cinemas.